Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to dig into Revelation chapter 4. Before we do, we're going to begin with a quick review. For the review, we're going to say that this object represents the last days, which is the time period between the two advents of Jesus. The book of Revelation is made up of 7 sections, and each section gives us a different viewpoint of that whole time period. The first section gives us a view of what happens in churches throughout that whole time period. And now this second section, the section we are in, is giving us a view of heaven throughout that whole time period. Look at the chapter with me. I'm going to read verses 2 through 8.
At once I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne stood in heaven, with one seated on the throne. And he who sat there had the appearance of jasper and carnelian, and around the throne was a rainbow that had the appearance of an emerald. Around the throne were 24 thrones, and seated on the thrones were 24 elders, clothed in white garments, with golden crowns on their heads. From the throne came flashes of lightning and rumblings and peals of thunder, and before the throne were burning 7 torches of fire, which are the 7 spirits of God. And before the throne there was, as it were, a sea of glass like crystal. And around the throne, on each side of the throne, are 4 living creatures, full of eyes in front and behind. The first living creature like a lion, the second living creature like an ox, the third living creature with the face of a man, and the fourth living creature like an eagle in flight. And the 4 living creatures, each of them with 6 wings, are full of eyes all around and within, and day and night they never cease to say, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come.
There are a lot of images in those verses, and some of them are strange. Don't let those images confuse you or make you conclude that you cannot appreciate or understand this vision. Take note of what is clear and consider what is the main truth you are being shown.
For instance, you know what a throne is, and you probably remember the significance of the rainbow. God gave Noah the rainbow as a sign that the earth would never again be destroyed by a flood. So here we are seeing our promise-making God, who had the power to destroy the earth and also the power to save and redeem the earth. The rainbow in this image is beautiful. God offers salvation. God makes promises. What about the 24 elders? What is clear about that image? Well, since they are seated on thrones and wearing crowns, it is clear they have authority. And since they are wearing white garments, it is clear that they are holy and righteous. So, even if you don't know who they are, you realize they are important and honored. And their honor serves to give even greater honor to God because their thrones are arranged around His throne. Notice that God's throne is called the throne. There's a definite article there, the. His throne is supreme. So, without knowing who the 24 elders are, they still have great meaning in the vision. They magnify God. Before we leave the 24 elders, think about the number 24 with me. Do you remember how many tribes of Israel there were? There were 12. Do you remember how many apostles there were? Again, there were 12. Hence, these elders probably represent both the Old and New Testament people of God. Let's look at the next verses. We all know that lightning and thunder is a display of great power. The presence of lightning and thunder tells us the one seated on the throne has that great power. What about the 7 torches and the sea of glass? What does that imagery bring to mind? You might remember that when Solomon built the temple, there was a large sea of cast metal. It has been estimated it held 24,000 gallons of water. You can read about that in 2 Chronicles chapter 4. You might also remember that in the tabernacle and the temple there was a golden lampstand with 7 lamps. You can read about that at the end of Exodus 25 and in 2 Chronicles chapter 13. That imagery reveals we are seeing the one who sits on the throne in the true Holy of Holies. Now, in verses 6 and 7, we see some strange-sounding creatures. Don't conclude that you cannot understand this vision just because the details seem so obscure. Consider what the main message is. Notice what the strange creatures are doing. They are praising God. They are giving honor to Him. And notice how chapter 4 ends. It ends with the creatures and the elders praising God together. Friends, this whole chapter shows us that God is the holy, sovereign ruler over all people, all creatures, all creation. He deserves to be worshipped, and it is a great joy and privilege to do so. In his commentary on Revelation, scholar William Hendrickson writes concerning chapter 4, one main lesson may be expressed in the words of the psalmist, Jehovah reigns. Let the peoples tremble. He sits above the cherubim. Let the earth be moved.
I encourage you to read all of chapter 4 this week. Let the vision show you God's greatness, and then spend some time giving Him the praise and honor He is due.